And I think when young people feel that their managers and their leaders know them and see them, they're willing to do anything.
Welcome to the Waves Business Coaching Podcast, where you can learn how to grow as a leader, inspire your team, and optimize the operations in your organization. I'm your host, Jacob Karnes, and this week on the podcast, I interview Elle Overholt, a career strategist and founder of Forth. I ask her how you can help prepare your young talent in your organization for their future and how that actually helps your business. If you want to learn how you can get the best out of your team in your organization, be sure to go to wavesbusinesscoaching.com, which is linked in the episode description. We would love to equip you with the tools and resources to optimize your business and give you peace of mind as a leader. Let's dive into my interview with Elle Overholt. Elle, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'd love for you to share with our audience a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jacob. Thanks for having me and on the Waves Business Coaching Podcast. What an honor. A little bit about me. Like you said, my name is Elle Overholt. I'm the founder and career strategist at Forth. But prior to starting this business, I graduated from Georgia Tech. Go Jackets! I know that pains you a little bit, Jacob, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We can appreciate
move on.
each other.
That's right.
But I graduated from Georgia Tech. Really didn't know what I wanted to do. However, I had heard that in the consulting world, you kind of got to see a bunch of different things and work with a bunch of different companies and people. So that was intriguing to me because I thought, well, maybe I'll learn through work what I want to do.
Yeah.
I learned very early on, like onboarding week 1 and 2, that this was not going to be the career for me long-term,
Right.
for a variety of reasons. It was just, very little client facing, actually lots of data analytics, which again, not bad, just for me wasn't a great fit. So
Right.
knew I had some student loans, needed to pay off, all that good stuff. But really during that time, I was with this company for about 3.5 years. And toward the end of my time there, one of the gifts that I was given was, hey, do you want to help run our onboarding? And honestly, based on kind of the rough experience I had, I thought, well, if I have an opportunity to love on these college grads and make them feel welcome and a little bit maybe more comfortable than I was, let's do it. So I partnered up with some folks that were doing that at the company and just fell in love with it. I loved working with college students. I loved helping them succeed in the workplace because I just knew that there was this gap, right? And
Right.
You're going to hear me say that a lot today, but I just felt that there was this gap between college and
Yeah.
career. And if I could be a part of closing that in, that could be so much fun. And so
Right.
did that on the side of my corporate role, came to them and said, hey, can I do this full time? And they were a fantastic company and said, hey, we need you as a consultant. You can still do it on the side, but we don't
Right.
have capacity and bandwidth for full time. And so I said, okay, great. I understand. That's fine. But it still kind of lingered in my spirit of like, why do I love this work so much? And so,
Yeah.
fast forward, I was living in Baton Rouge, moved from Atlanta to Baton Rouge, Louisiana with my husband for his job, was commuting back and forth for work. And finally, my husband just was kind enough to say, hey, you have moved for me, and for our family. Why don't you try to do this, whatever this is, on your own?
Yeah.
And so that was in 2018, so about 5 years ago, over 5 years ago now. And what started as this like, oh, I love college students and how can I help them, turned into what it is today, iterations over the past 5 years, how we exist right now and how we serve clients, candidates, business owners is really, we call ourselves career strategists, meaning if you think about career coaches, that's thinking, what do I want to do with my life?
Right.
And career strategy is how do I get there?
Yeah.
And so we really focus on how do I get there? Everything from resume, interview, LinkedIn, but we also are certified Clifton Strengths coaches. So that's kind of our nugget of what do I want to do? And we take that data and we help kind of direct our students. And so we do everything from one-on-one coaching. We have a Get Hired boot camp that we run with our college grads and help them through every step of the process to kind of close that gap between college and career. And then we also work with corporate businesses that want to develop young people, specifically new hires or development programs or folks that they really want to pour into on site that goes a little bit beyond that onboarding support, if that makes sense. So that's a little bit about me and how I got into this work and what I do now. But I just really, if I had to boil it all down, we really love to close the gap between college and career and beyond. What we saw is that it doesn't just stop on the onboarding floor when you get to your job, but it really is this consistent learning that you need throughout your career. So it's been lots of fun.
I'm a big fan of what you do. I've been through your stuff. You know, we met at Chick-fil-A. So I've been through your stuff. I see the value in it. So, you know, our audience, business leaders, business owners, I kind of want to help them see what you see, because you see the value in developing young people and helping them with the how of developing them to get to their next step. So, Ellie, in your experience, what are some skills and traits that young employees need to thrive in today's workplace?
Oh gosh, that's such a great question. And it honestly harkens back to my experience right out of college. The thing, I would come home from work and I was living with my mom at the time. This is before I got married. And I would say to my mom, why do I feel like I am just not set up for success? I always would say that, like, why do I feel like I have almost been set up for failure? And just to kind of caveat, I was that student in college that, you know, I was ready for the workplace. I was determined. I was doing internships and all this stuff. So when I say that, what I mean is there are things that we organically learn in the workplace that sometimes employers expect new hires or young employees to know right away. It's not really reasonable to expect that. So when I think about skills, a lot of it is on the job training skills, but the difference is my encouragement to employers is, how can you set up beta or pilot or even mock experiences where these employees, these young people, can sit in and just soak in what it looks like to sit with clients, to work with clients, to have internal meetings, right? To do brainstorming, to draft up proposals. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but whatever it is that they need to know, how can you expose that to them almost day one, truly? And so I just think it sounds almost oversimplified, but it's not so much the hard skills. Cause let me tell you, these young people, they have the hard skills. And that's what I see often is they know the nitty gritty of what they learned in school or what, you know, the coding or the, you know, whatever, all the things that the analysis, but it's the comfortability with corporate or career life versus college, where everything is, I'm a student, I'm here to learn, I'm just sitting back, I'm taking it in, versus in the workplace, they need to be going and doing and raising their hand. But if we don't give them many opportunities to do that, it's really hard for them to feel confident in taking that step.
What are some of the skills like that are becoming increasingly valued for these young employees that are kind of across every industry? Because obviously every business is going to be a little bit different, but like, what are some of those skills that are increasingly valued for every young employee?
Yes. So I think when I think about big buckets of skills, the first one that comes to mind for me without question, and Jacob, we've been in the same room talking about this topic, which is communication, right? And to me, it's verbal communication, it's written communication, and it's nonverbal communication. Many times the nonverbal is something we don't even think about, but it is so critically important. But I'm not going to know as a college grad, as a new hire, how to operate in a board meeting unless I'm there witnessing everyone else doing it.
That's right.
Right. And so communication is huge. And I think that can sometimes be a trite thing to say of, oh, you know, learn how to communicate, but there's so much that goes into that. In fact, even listening is a part of that. How do you active listen so that your manager knows that you're hearing what it is they're saying, right? Those are some of the things that I see as big gaps where the managers are walking away going, well, I hope they heard me because I couldn't tell you if they did, right? Maybe they've got glazed over. Maybe they're checking their Apple Watches, right? Maybe they're taking notes, but it looks like they're texting on their computer. You know, all those things that they may or may not know, right? So I think communication is a big bucket of skills that,
for sure,
in my perspective, young people need to learn. And then, I mean, honestly, I could go on a whole tangent. We talk about like executive presence and networking and all the things. But to me, I think the thing that can either make or break, I hate to use that term, but that can make or break a new hire is communication.
Yeah.
I think if you have excellent communication skills, you can navigate a lot of the other hiccups as they come, if that makes sense.
Agree 100%. You're familiar with Story Brand and kind of the organization
Yes.
I get to work with, and communication.
Yes.
That's number one.
Right.
So as a business owner, if a business owner's listening and you employ young people, like most young people you and I encounter are extremely hungry, extremely driven. They're looking for what's next. They're looking for opportunities to grow always.
Yes.
How can a business owner create like a supportive and growth oriented environment for their young employees?
I'm really glad you bring this up, because I think one of my hills to die on is that young people want to succeed and really want to work hard. I think sometimes Gen Z or millennial, whatever, younger generation we're talking about at the time, gets a bad rap for just being entitled or lazy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you right now, the young people that I work with couldn't be farther from that. In fact, the questions they're coming to me with are kind of similar to what you're asking me, is how do I elevate in my career? How do I bring value to my company? And they're asking the question. So I'm glad you're asking it almost from the employer side, saying, how do we support our young people? So I think the first thing is know that truthfully, 9 times out of 10, the young person you're hiring, they want to do right by you. They don't want to, phone it in at home and work from home and never work, or, they really don't. They want to do well. And so I will say, in terms of, I think your question was, how does a business support helping that young person grow? Correct? Is that the question? Okay.
That's right.
So I think one of the things that, that can go the distance like none other is finding out there's this, okay, so this is a little bit of a tangent, but with parenting, one of the best pieces of parenting advice I ever got was find out who your kid is. Like, figure out who is in there. And it might take a couple years, right? Especially when you're thinking about children, right? But find out who's in there, because the moment you know who they are, everything becomes clear. How you love them, how you work with them, how you discipline them, right? How you cook for them, right? All these things. In the workplace, it feels like a waste of time sometimes to get to know your people at that level. What gives them energy at the end of the day, right? What's maybe life sucking, soul sucking for them at the end of the day? Not to say they're never going to have to do that thing, and not to say that they're only going to get to do things that are life-giving. But if you as their leader can identify, okay, I know Ellie and I know what gets her excited. So I want to see her in her lane. And so when there's opportunities to grant her that opportunity, I'm going to take it. That's all it's saying. And I think when young people feel that their managers and their leaders know them and see them, they're willing to do anything. And I hear that so often, Jacob, where it's like, I just want to do right by the company, and all they're doing is giving me tasks that I know I'm not good at, I know that are not exciting for me, or that it's going to take me 10 times longer than Joe in the cubicle, next door. And I could do what Joe's doing in 10 minutes, right? As an example. But the point is I think if you could take a little bit of time, and it might take, a couple months to really uncover who they are. But I think if that's your goal when you're thinking about new hires and young people, I think it changes the game, because you then get to see them grow and elevate. But then I think also the level of appreciation that these young people have for the organization, it skyrockets. It's like, I will fall on the sword all day long for this organization. So I don't know if that answers exactly, but that's what I hear from the field, if you will.
I mean, three big things I just heard you say and all that I kind of want to sum up. Like, one, intentionality as a business leader. Like, it's going to take some work to be intentional with each person, right? 2, young people do want to work hard. And like you said, 9 times out of 10, when you hire someone, they want to do right by you. Right. They want to work hard for the business. They get the job for a reason. Like, they applied to your business and not somewhere else, or, they took a job at your business and not somewhere else.
Right.
3, and this has been a big learning for me, like, over my career, has been, even though you're leading a team of individuals. And those individuals can't be led the same way. And so I love that, like a parent, like finding out who each person is, because then you can use that as motivation to get, like, number one, to get more out of them for your business.
Correct.
But also they're going to feel more developed. Like, they're going to be even hungrier to grow. They're going to work hard. Like, it's mutually beneficial.
Correct.
Which, it's a win-win. Like,
right. Absolutely.
So for someone, you're a career strategist, you help young people kind of get to their next step. There's plenty of business owners, especially in, my former world, Chick-fil-A, where a lot of young people work for owner operators.
Right.
I was one of those young people who was looking for the next step.
Right.
How can a business owner or a leader, what can they do to help, like, a young person, their organization, get to the next step, even if that next step is not within their four walls of their business?
Right. And I think that's a really good question. And it is a tough question because, again, if I'm serving business owners, I don't want them to lose their people, especially their good people. Right.
Yeah.
And so I understand that tension. It's expensive to hire. It's, but also, I think we've all heard this quote, and I can't even remember who said it, but it's the question of, what if I spend all this money and develop them and then they leave? Okay. But what if you don't?
Yeah.
Right. If you don't, that means you have a bunch of undeveloped people in your business, right? So that is something that is just true. That is just the truth. And I think in an organization like a Chick-fil-A, but even just in general, if you're thinking people that are working with your customers on a day-to-day basis, it is a, I hate to use the word like flight risk, but it is an issue for you as a business owner if your people who are directly interacting with your customers or clients, stakeholders, you name it, are underdeveloped. And so I just think that's like a great place to start. Number one, if that can be the core foundation of why it matters, I think that that's a great place to start. Now, what I will say is, going back to the 9 times out of 10 analogy from before, most young people that I talk to, they don't want to leave.
Yeah.
But they are hungry for challenges.
Right.
Honestly, I don't often hear my clients saying, I just really need a promotion. That's really not the language that they're using.
That's right.
They're using, I don't feel challenged. I feel stuck. I've been doing the same thing for 6 years, and I've asked for more opportunities. That's what they're saying.
Right.
They're not saying more money. They're saying more opportunities.
They want more work.
They want more work. They want more work. And
that's right.
And I think that there's this tension of employers maybe thinking, well, I don't want to. Again, maybe if I develop them too much, they leave. Or maybe if I switch their position, they're not going to like it as much. There's all these fears that go into it. And I get a lot of that. But what I will say is, go into the mindset of, if I develop this person, it will make my business better. And there is a likelihood that they're going to stay here because they feel developed. Now, of course, there's a chance that they leave. But what I have found is, even if they leave, what the real benefit is, and I've seen this even in the Chick-fil-A restaurant sphere, is they tell their friends about their experience.
That's right.
At their previous experience. And it is a organic, beautiful recruitment funnel that you can't, it's hard to put a price tag on, and it's hard to put a number on. But when you see it happen, it's undeniable. And so that's the worst case scenario, is that your person leaves and they tell their friends about their great experience with you. That's the worst. The best case scenario is they stay and they're continuing to add value for you and your customers and your team as a whole. So again, I don't know if it's so much advice. I think it's a reframe of a mindset of, ultimately, what matters to me as a business owner, that my customers and are happy and my employees are happy. Well, both of those things are served through development opportunities. Right. So,
I think something you said that was so good is just like, people don't need a promotion. When I talk to people, it's not even a raise. It's just, hey, I want to grow. Like, I'm not being challenged. I want more to do. They're asking you to work more. Literally, they're asking to work more. That's a win-win. If it's not costing me anything. And so
it's so true.
I think being intentional with that development piece and allowing people to do more, even if it might mean you doing less, which is, again, a win-win. And giving people the freedom to fail as well as a part of that development, and like letting them fall on their face doing it and showing them how to do it better.
Totally. Because you can't learn unless you try. Like
Yeah.
there's no, you can't think your way into learning. You have to do
Right.
it. And so giving them the space and the bubble wrap space, if that's what works, great. Give them some bubble wrap around their experience and pick them up and let them try again. But you'll be shocked. I think employers would be shocked how quickly young people take feedback, take failures, and keep going. I really do. I think they would be shocked.
Ellie, can you share a success story of like a business effectively preparing a young employee for their future, either within that business or they've developed them and they had an impact there and went on to do something else really cool?
Ooh, that's a really, really great. Well, you know what? Honestly, and this is like a little bit of a nuance. Well, do you want it to be where I have stepped in and worked, or just in general where I've seen it be?
Either one.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, I have a lot of clients where when they come to me, they're unhappy. Yeah. And when they first come to me, it's, I got to get my resume ready. I can't do this anymore. I'm unhappy because of X, Y, and Z. And they make it very clear to me where they say, this, and this is a problem. I would say a lot of them haven't vocalized and typically I say, have you talked to your employer? Because my role, honestly, as a career strategist isn't always, okay, let's get you ready for the next opportunity. If that's really what they want, of course, I'm going to help them with that.
Right.
But sometimes I can see an opportunity for maybe reconciliation or a great conversation, etc. And what I find, and this is more just in general, what I find is that when we can put really, really specific language. So even as we're talking about salary, even if we were talking about salary, I always tell my clients, you have to take the emotion out of it. It's not about how you feel or what you think you should be doing or what you think you should be earning, because at the end of the day, those are feelings. There isn't lot of basis there, and it's hard to back that up. So even if, let's say it's saying, I've been doing XYZ for X number of years and I want something new, or I need a new challenge, or I need to do more work, being very clear in your communication, going back to communication, it's everything. And what I've seen a number of times is clients they say, okay, I'm going to give this one last effort. I'm going to make it crystal clear. And I'm going to tell them exactly why the situation is not working, how it can be made better. And here's a kicker. Here's a big, like, ding, 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 gold star, giving your employer options for how that can be made better. Because the worst thing you can do is simply bring problems to the table. That is something that I see, honestly, a lot of young people do, where they just say, well, I'm unhappy because of X, Y, and Z, period. There is absolutely no solutions brought to the table. Yep. Versus if you came to your employee and said, hey, this is why I'm unhappy, or this is why I felt stuck, or I'm not being challenged in my work anymore. There are two different ways that I could see this improving, both for you as a business owner and for me as a team member, right? Not just Chick-fil-A language, but like in terms of part of a team, and giving them option A, option B, maybe option A, option B, and option C, and and then putting the ball in your employer's court. I've seen that be unbelievably successful. And I get emails back from my clients like, you're never going to believe, like, they're changing. They heard exactly what I said. They want me to stay. They don't want to lose me. Right. And it has nothing to do with money. It just has to do with the work that they're doing. And so I would say for my young people listening, maybe that aren't attached to, they're not a business owner, but you're in the job search, or you want to be in the job search. Have you spelled out what you want and need? And honestly, I do this work with clients one-on-one, because sometimes it's hard to think about how you can solve the problem on your own. Sometimes having a third party sounding board is everything. So that's what I would say.
Ellie, where can people find out more about what you do and about Forth?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are obviously on the social channels. We're doing a lot more on LinkedIn. So you can find me, Elle Overholt, on LinkedIn. It's just public, and come follow along. We post a lot of our content there. Also Instagram at @Forth_career_strategy. I can also have Jacob link this in the notes. And then our website is actually a fantastic resource to be able to email us, get in contact. If you want to schedule a free discovery call, you can also find the link there. And the website is goforthllc.com. But I'd love to connect. And even if you just come over to Instagram and send me a DM and say, hey, I heard you on Waves Business Podcast, I would love to say hello. I'm big into the voice memos, so you'll get to chat with me in the DMs, which is really fun. So yeah, I would love to chat with anyone who is even just thinking I'm stuck, or I have a team and I need some help in developing them. I'd love to chat about that as well.
I will have those 3 places linked here in the episode description. So Ellie, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jacob. Have a great rest of your day.
See ya.
See ya.
Thanks so much to Ellie for being on the podcast. Be sure to check out Elle and Forth on her website, LinkedIn, and Instagram using the links in the episode notes. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the Waves Business Coaching Podcast. For more free tools and resources on how you can grow your organization, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Organizations struggle to grow because they don't know how to bring the best out of their people. At Waves Business Coaching, we inspire teams and optimize operations so that you and your organization can thrive. If you're a business leader who wants to help bring the best out of your team, visit our website at wavesbusinesscoaching.com, linked in the episode notes. If you want a free plan to optimize your business, take my business report, which is also linked in the episode notes. In this free assessment from Business Made Simple, you'll get a diagnosis and plan to optimize your business, and it only takes 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Waves Business Coaching Podcast. Take care.